Hey guys, my name is David Tortosa and we'll be going over the track camera controllers. Now as a track camera operator, you have two controllers. You have your pulse controller or sled controller, and then you have your head controller or your Newton controller. So let's start off with the head controller. On the right you have your joystick, which controls the tilt and the pan of your camera head. And then on the middle you have a bunch of knobs which you don't need to worry about, but you have this preset controller or servo controller. So at 0, it is deservoed, or it's on standby mode, we like to say. If you put it on 1, the head will activate. And then the numbers below it are different preset settings. So let's say, for example, my joystick is at a certain speed on 1. At 2, it's at a faster speed. So that's all that it's for. On the left, we have our zoom rocker. Depending on your orientation, it either zooms in or zooms out. So zoom in, zoom out, or zoom in, zoom out. Pretty simple. Above that is our focus ring. So depending on your subject on stage, you can either focus in or focus out. Like I said, depends on your subject's distance away from the camera, but that's how you focus right there. On the top left is our iris control. So let's say, for example, they ask you to brighten your image. To brighten that, it's here on the top left. Depending on the orientation, like I said, you could either increase your f-stop or lower your f-stop or aperture or iris. In the middle, we have our monitor, which tells us our head settings as well as our aperture settings for our camera. So to change some settings, you do it here on the monitor. And of course, when you need to change, let's say, for example, iris, you can see it change on the monitor right there. Last thing is our power button, which is this yellow button right here, and the power outlet, which you can connect right next to it. So that's our head controller. Let's go over to the pulse controller. Okay, our pulse controller or our sled controller. From the top down, pretty simple, just like the head controller. You have your power button, that's labeled. On the top right is our standby button, or we like to call our emergency brake button, or for example, you don't want to operate, you want to take a little break, you just hit standby and the sled won't move. Below that, we have our end stops, which identifies the camera sled's point A and point B. We know where the track camera ends and starts, but the camera sled does not. So that's what those are for. Below that, we have our monitor, which tells us our distance and then any type of settings that we need to change. Below that, we have our acceleration and deceleration knobs, which identifies how fast or slow the camera sled leaves an endpoint and how fast or slow it arrives at an endpoint. So that's basically what those knobs are for. Next to it is speed, which identifies the camera sled's speed. So the more percentage of speed, the faster, the lower, the slower. Below that is our joystick, which actually moves the camera sled. Up and down, depending on your position, could be activated or not, but left and right is what moves the camera sled across the track. So that concludes our overview of the track camera controllers.